Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpotu-Uduaghan, that he engaged former Governor Yahaya Bello to kill her as false and malicious. The clarification was made in a statement issued in Abuja by Akpabio's media aide, Eseme Eyibo. Akpotu-Uduaghan made the allegation while addressing her supporters on Wednesday in Kogi. The Abattoir Senator alleged that the Senate President sought the help of Bello to assassinate her in Kogi State rather than in Abuja, a claim the state government has since debunked. Reaction on Friday, Akpabio said there was no iota of truth in her allegation, which he described as a deliberate smear campaign to make him look like a bad leader in the eye of the public. Akpabio similarly berated former lawmaker representing Adamawa North Senator District, Elisha Abo, reiterating that he has no hand in his removal from the National Assembly as claimed. Abo was sacked by a court of appeal sitting in Abuja on October 16, 2023, but the former lawmaker who was featured on a live TV program on Wednesday blamed Akpabio for his predicament. The Senate President said he suspected both claims to come in almost at the same time must have been a deliberate and coordinated campaign of calumny against his personality. He therefore sought apologies and retractions from both individuals to avoid seeking legal redress. A federal high court in Abuja issued an order restraining all parties involved in a suit filed by Natasha Akpotu-Uduaghan against Senate President Godswill Akpabio and 3 others from making public comments about the case. Justice Binta Inyako, who presided over the matter, gave the directive on Friday after Akpabio's lawyer Kehinde Ogunwumuji raised concern that Akpotu-Uduaghan had been granting television interviews regarding the lawsuit. In her ruling, Justice Inyako said that all parties and their lawyers must refrain from granting press interviews related to the case. The court further ruled that the proceedings must not be streamed on social media platforms, effectively limiting public disclosure on the case while it remains before the judiciary. At the day's proceeding, counsel to the Senate President Ogunwumuji had complained that the plaintiff Natasha was moving from one television house to another, granting press interviews on issues relating to her case. Currently pending before the court, Justice Inyako, who noted that the case was sub judice, also barred parties and their lawyers from engaging in streaming of proceedings in the case on social media. Counsel to Natasha Jubri Okuteba told the court that the case was coming up for the first time, having been transferred from another court presided over by Justice Obiora Egwatu. Supreme Court has set aside the judgment of the court appeal in Abuja, which recognized Julius Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party. In a unanimous judgment on Friday, a 5-member panel of the Apex Court held that the Court of Appeal lacks the jurisdiction to pronounce Abure as the national chairman of the LP. Having earlier determined that the substance of the case was about the party's leadership, the court ruled that issues of leadership are internal affairs of a political party over which courts lack jurisdiction, and noted that Abure's tenure had since expired. The Supreme Court allowed the appeal filed by Senator Esther Nenadi Usman and one other, declaring it meritorious. It also dismissed the cross appeal filed by the Abure faction of the LP for being unmeritorious. As the death toll in Boko's clean rises, Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election, has raised concern over the increasing spate of insecurity in many parts of the country. On the night of Wednesday, April 2, 2025, armed men invaded 5 communities in the Bokos local government area of Plateau State, killing 10 people. By Thursday, over 40 bodies had been recovered in the local government area as additional bodies were reportedly found. Reacting to the tragedy, Obi condemned the senseless killings on families in Bokos communities. The former governor of Anambra State said kidnappings and killings are becoming normal occurrences, adding that insecurity is so rife in the country that Nigerians now live in fear. Obi said communities now live in fear and no longer have a livelihood either in their farms or in their markets without being killed, kidnapped and maimed. He therefore called on the federal government to end this grief and terror, as this is becoming extremely unacceptable. Ruling all Progressive Congress has dismissed speculations of a rift between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima, rejecting claims that Tinubu is considering a new running mate for the 2027 elections. Despite Tinubu not officially announcing a re-election bid, party loyalists and key stakeholders have reportedly begun mobilizing support for a potential second term. However, recent rumors suggesting discord between Tinubu and Shettima have been described as unfounded by party officials. Alhaji Bala Ibrahim, APC's National Director of Publicity, refuted the reports, describing them as beer parlor discussions without any credible basis. He added that even if the president were consider replacing the vice president. Such a decision would require extensive consultations with political stakeholders, not unilateral action. Meanwhile, political stakeholders from Nigeria's north central geopolitical zone have renewed their demand for either the presidency or vice presidency in the 2027 elections. They noted that the north central's case is worse than that of the southeast, which at least produced Dr. Alex Ekweme as vice president from 1979 to 1983. However, the APC has dismissed the North Central's demand, describing it as unrealistic and premature. And now on to business news. Price of Nigeria's burning lights yesterday dropped to $69.90 per barrel from more than $75 per barrel in the global market, indicating a decrease of 6.8%. This development was fueled by announcement of sweeping new tariffs by U.S. President Donald Trump and the decision of the Organization of Oil-Producing Countries, also known as OPEC Plus Group, to increase its unwinding of output costs in May 2025, expected to increase supply to the market. However, this may likely affect Nigeria's 2025 budget, which was based on oil production of 2.6 million barrels, which is $75 per barrel, and revenue target of 36.35 trillion naira, with 56% coming from oil sales. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRC) said crude oil output, including condensate, dropped on month by 3.8% to 1.671 million barrels per day in February 2025 from 1.737 million barrels per day in January 2025. Meanwhile, OPEC said Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iraq, UAE, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria, and Oman have a firm commitment to market stability on healthier oil market outlook and adjust production upward. In a report released yesterday, the organization stated the 8 OPEC Plus countries which previously announced additional voluntary adjustments in April and November 2023, namely Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iraq, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria, global electricity demand, which surged by 4.3% in 2024, marking a significant rise from the 2.5% growth recorded in 2023.